So after a massive win for the Springboks, they move on to their second match of the November internationals. It is up against France. Now, this is considered one of the toughest tests for South Africa in November, and also something else that is extremely tough is to predict what Rassie Erasmus is going to be selecting in his Springboks lineup, and that is exactly what we're going to try to do today. It is myself and it is Vic from Vic and Vern Sports Chat, mate. A big win over the Japanese, but a different challenge ahead up against the French. Do you see Rassie going strongest that he can for this matchup, or a bit of experimentation?
No, I think he'll go strongest that he can. I was actually surprised that he went as strong as he did against the Japanese. I thought we'd have a lot more changes, but no, I think he'll go all guns blazing, because I think the third one is against Italy. I think we can rest different players against Italy. Played them twice already this year. No, but look, the Japan game was good. Don't get overexcited. It was Japan. All respect to the Japanese, konnichiwa. But at the end of the day, it wasn't New Zealand, and it wasn't France, and it wasn't Ireland or England. Good way to get some motivation and some stuff into the team starting this autumn international test series here. But France is going to be a totally different day. And what is it? Stade de France there. That's going to be packed, electrifying. The French are talking about revenge for the World Cup. There's no revenge, my friends. You didn't win the trophy. There's no revenge in the autumn internationals. But should be interesting.
That game extremely close, only 1 point separating them in that contest. Of course, a bigger split in the game up against the Japanese, but I do feel like from that last game, one of the biggest concerns was a certain injury. Oxenshare ended up picking up a knee injury of some sort. Now, I will mention at the time of this recording, they haven't given a certainty around the extent of the injury. He was down for quite some time. Meanwhile, Sasha still scoring another try during that build-up of play, so not a lot of sympathy there from his teammate.
I think Rusty will go with the top dogs. I think it's Steenkamp, Malcolm Marks, and Wilco Low. I think that'll be a starting three up front.
Okay, so I've gone with the exact same thing. At the end of the day, you do want that man up front when it comes to a scrum. Definitely up against a forward pack the size of the French, one of the biggest around. So Oxenshare, for me, the backup at the moment is Gerhard Steenkamp.
Yes.
I would go with him ahead of Boan Venter, just based off minutes that we've seen, plus the fact that he did play last week up against the Japanese. But Malcolm Marks, he's probably going to have to play a majority of this match up against the French, and they have got two very classy hookers normally, and Julian Manchon alongside Pietro Malvaca. So that is where Marks, he was strong up against the Japanese. He normally is. So he'll be one to keep an eye out for. And this contest will go low, solid in the scrums, which is exactly what you want here again. Pretty strong front row for the Boks. But we will move on to somewhere where they have plenty of depth at the moment, the Springboks, and that is the locking joy. For myself in this contest, a man who we did not see in that first match up against the Japanese, I'm going with Eben Etzebeth as the number 4 for the prediction, and number 5, Ruan Nokia. Didn't get a massive amount of opportunity off of the bench in that game up against the Japanese. Didn't really need to, because at the end of the day, Arges Neyman and Ludiaka both doing brilliantly. Those line-out steals, they are just an absolute handful out there on the park. But Eben Etzebeth, that physicality up against the French. Now, I will mention Roman Taufifenua not going to be playing for the French in this game due to injury. Also, Jalabert, another player that they will be missing from the French squad. So I do feel like without Taufifenua, it gives Eben Etzebeth a bit more of a chance to flourish in that locking duo. Ruan Nokia, he is absolutely world-class. And honestly, the way that he's playing, probably one of the first names on Rassie's team sheet. And I assume from that salute, you've gone with the exact same?
Exact same. I think that is the part of the team. For me, we are the most blessed on the lock positions. You've got Eben, Ruan, Archie Snyman, you've Lut de Jager, you've got them all. I don't really care which. You got Franka Mostert. I don't care which of the 5 start. But I would go with Eben and Ruan Nokia. I think they are the starting duo at the moment. And I do always like Archie off the bench, So, no, I'd go with that as well.
And even you've got the option of Jean Klein in the squad as well. He has managed to slot his way in there. So just spoiled for the depth. And the fact that a couple of those guys can also play in the loose forward trio just gives you that massive amount of versatility. That, of course, Rassie loves. Moving on to the loose forward trio. Who have you selected in these positions? Is it a pretty, I would say, stock standard strong trio for yourself?
Captain Siya Kolisi, Peter Steph Toy and Jasper Visser, they're the three that you would put out there for a game against France or New Zealand or Ireland or the big boys, put it that way. I think that's the best three we have at the moment.
And I've gone with the exact same. My question to you, because of course it is very hard to switch any of those players out, but if you were to switch one individual of that loose forward trio, who would it be at the moment and who would be that guy that you bring in? Because I know that Mako van Staden was getting a little bit of praise at the start of the season. Peter Steph Toy, how do you take that man out? You know, Franco Mostert didn't play badly, but it's Peter Steph Toy. And then Jasper Visser, I feel like at the moment with the fact that Honeycomb, Elric Lowe, Jano Augustus, all of those men suffering injuries, he's probably the most secure. But then at the same time, you can't sack any of them, can you, from the lineup?
Look, if I had to take one out, and I know I'm going to probably be in the South African newspaper when they hear this, I'd take Sia. The one I'd change would Sia with Marco Verstappen. That's the one the change I would definitely not take out Peter Steph Toy. We had a poll yesterday. Who's the best 7 in the world? Peter Steph Toy or Ardie Savea? They are the two best on that position in the world at the moment. I wouldn't change that. And Jasper Visser, I mean, he's a one-man wrecking crew. If he stays out of trouble, disciplinary-wise, can't take him out now. The moment I would say Sia is the one I would most probably be the first I would change. Not because I don't think Sia is good or anything like that, or he's not going to. Sia would always start for me because he's just a charismatic leader of the team, but would be Marco van Staden getting that spot there for me.
And is that just down to the age of Sia Kolisi as well, heading towards that World Cup, just the development?
I would actually like Sia to play a little bit less in the next 2 years. Kind of, save him is not the right word. You never know, because you can have a freak injury at any time. But I wouldn't overplay Sia, because I would like to see him as a captain try to get that third World Cup. That'd be iconic. No one has ever done it. And I think he deserves it. And then afterwards, he can run for president of South Africa and we'll vote him.
Going to be a busy man.
I've got his whole career planned out for him. He just has to contact me.
Has he written a book? I know that Eben's been getting on the book trend recently. Has Sia got a book of some sort? Is that
I do not know about that. I do know that the South Africans at the moment are very productive when it comes to making children. Eben has just got a baby come out, and I know Andre Pollard's wife had a baby. So it's a good thing. See, I think Rassi's got the planning down there as well. Get the children out the way 2 years before the World Cup. There's no distractions in the World Cup year. You know what I mean?
Gives them a schedule and says, this is your time.
There you go.
But nonetheless, moving on to the back line. And we will go for number 9 first of all, Kobus Reinach. So I think that Rassi will be selecting. He did start in the game up against the Japanese, but once again, I think he's got enough to start the match. He has the occasional little handling error, which has actually become a bit of a trend of his game, but he's working so well with Sasha Feinberg and Zulu, who I am predicting as the starting 10. I know that some would say up against the French, you want someone like Pollard, but I don't think you want to play that kicking game up against the French. You want to be going for that attacking style that has worked so well for the South Africans over the last 12 months or so, and these two players are the perfect example of how you're going to be able to do that.
I'm doing a Rassi move here. I'm going Kobus Reinach, and I'm starting with Mani.
Okay.
I'm putting Mani Lebok in there to start, because I think Mani and Sasha are more alike, and I think that works well with Kobus Reinach, because I got Sasha playing somewhere else. So I got Kobus Reinach and Mani on those two positions for me.
Okay, so going with that little bit of a switch, but still pretty much what we did see at times throughout that last match up against the Japanese. And the thing is, they're spoiled for choice because they also have someone like a Grant Williams who can make his way into the starting side rather than the bench. And Reinach was a great finisher throughout the Rugby Championship too. So really are spoiled for choice. And at that department, moving on to the centre pairing, which you could argue they are spoiled for choice in this department as well. Who have you gone with as the centre duo for this game?
I'm going Damien de Linde, and I'm going Cannon Moody.
Okay.
I put them in there. I just feel that Moody got a nice rest last week, and you can't take Damien de Linde out. He is just, for me, yesterday, a lot of people gave somebody else the man of the match. For me, he was the man of the match. If you just watched him in the game, he does things that other players don't do. His defensive work is phenomenal. He's a big centre, so he's like a battering ram as well. He get a lot of the breakdown play. When South Africa needs to control the game, he does that very well. So I think For me, he's always a starter. For me, he's always. I don't think anybody can take his spot right now.
Do you think once the other Damien is back from injury, Damien Valimza, there's a chance that we see him getting the chance ahead of an Andre Esterhuizen at 12 out of those two as the backup?
Yes, because I think Andre Esterhuizen is so versatile. I think Andre Esterhuizen is, his versatility is most probably hurting him that he's not a starter. Yeah. Kind of like Kwaka, not a starter, but I think he'll always be on the team sheet because Rassie seems to like these, I call them Prius players, hybrids, versatile, like, you can use gas or you can use electricity. That's what these boys, that's exactly what he does. And he likes those players. Grant Williams, another one of those players. You can play them on different positions, and Rassie seems to like it. So, yeah, I think Esterhuizen will always be more of a bench player, where I see Willemse has a chance maybe to be a starter,
And I've gone with that same duo that you also went with, Damien Dialendi and Kanan Moody. The fact that we didn't see Kanan Moody for that last match up against Japan, even though he was left out of the URC most recent round, makes me think that he is saving him big time for this match up against the French. He was phenomenal throughout the end of the Rugby Championship, making some great decisions. And the thing is, when they had that very quick backline for the South Africans, the player who was sometimes criticised, even before the match got underway, was Damien Dialendi. People were asking the question, is he fast enough? Can he do what these young, quick players on his outside can? And the answer was yes. He actually slotted in extremely well because of that versatility, not so much in terms of a whole heap of positions that he plays, but in the way that he plays number 12. He's able to play defensively, playing attacking as well if he needs to.
I mean, I think a lot of people, because he maybe doesn't score as many tries as the other players, that people are like, of course, it's always like the shiny new toy that everybody likes. But when it comes to the defensive work, there's nobody, 11 through 15, that is better on the defensive end than he is. Playing against a French team, you can't just go all out attack, which we most probably still will do, but you've got to have a lot of good defensive players because the French is a tough squad,
Yeah, and they will look for that kicking game every once in a while, try and get in behind. Exactly. And the line breaks, I think, will be coming thick and fast throughout this whole matchup. So you want those guys who can make those spot tackles like a Damien Dialendi, round the bootlaces, lock them up, and then more than likely have one of your jacklers get in there, try and work for the turnover. But we move on to the back three now. For myself, I have gone with Kurtley Arendse out on the left wing. I feel like he did enough, scoring himself 2 tries in that last contest to earn himself the starting spot. It's tricky because for me, I have actually taken Ethan Hooker out of the side, and I don't know where he sits in Rassie's radar at the moment. I think he's relatively high, to be honest. But I also think that in that game up against the Italians, that is where we'll see Ethan Hooker get the pick of whether he wants 11 or 14 for that matchup. For the right wing, this is actually where I've gone with Edward van der Merwe in Rassie's selection. He's great under the high ball, which is exactly what you want up against a side like France. I don't know how he gets so much height on his jump, but he always seems to. And if they can retain that ball in terms of those kicking battles,
jump.
That is true. And he just seems to always catch the ball, doesn't he? Even when he looks like he's off balance, he'll catch it behind him and be like, yep, still got it, offload, and then opportunity to get on the attack. And you'll notice there's a bit of a trend. What is one thing in common that both of my wingers have?
They're good on up and unders, both of them.
Yes, but I was looking for headgear, okay? And the reason I say that is because at number 15, I've got Cheslin Colby. So I've got the back three of the headgear for this match up against the French.
That's a good one.
The trio, tell you what, I'm going to have no idea how to tell them apart on the commentary because they all seem to go for the same pattern on the headgear. I thought that Cheslin scored that little chip in behind that he did when Arendse ran through and scored that second try, but I think it would be quick. I think it would be dynamic, and that is mainly due to the injury of Damien Valimza. Now, if Valimza is available, I would put him at 15, Cheslin Colby to 14. Nice and easy, little switch, nothing too drastic in that regard. But if he is unavailable, because once again, we don't know the extent of that hamstring injury, I would go with the three who are quick as cats in the back three and see how they go.
11 spot, I'll go with Kurtley as well. Definitely. I've got Cheslin on the 14 because I've got Sasha Feinberg Mongazulu playing the 15. Try to anticipate some craziness,
Well, there's always one crazy moment, isn't there, in a Rugby lineup? Last week, I would say by far it was the Andre Esterhuizen playing 20.
Yes.
So this week, Sashi has played 15 before, but having him and Marnie Libok both in a starting side, I think would be quite a surprise for quite a few Springbok supporters. But who is someone who loves surprises? Their head coach.
I'm with you. If Damon Willems is fit, I think he'll play 15. Sasha will move into the 10, and I'll take Marnie out the squad. I think all three fly-halves are going to be playing this weekend. I see Rusty going with 3 fly-halves this weekend.
You heard it here first. And whether or not it's correct, we will soon know, because it's normally an early squad announcement in that regard for the lineups. Or do you think they'll go early up against the French? Now that I think about it, that may be one that you wait a little bit longer, isn't it? You see how Oxenshaw's progressing along and Willemse maybe Thursday?
I mean, he's never been shy of coming out early and then just changing it on Friday. He's done that. He's done that before. I mean, just change it on Friday again. I was reading things of the French coach, because the French was in the training camp. They're using the same facilities as the under-20s of the South Africans that are on tour at the moment in Europe. And it was like, all of a sudden, the practices, the French were always open. But now, after 50 minutes, everybody had to leave. He made sure he had people in the stands, make sure none of the young box were watching the practice and stuff like that. He was, Spygate there, So we'll see. I don't know. Rusty, you never know. He might come out this evening already with a lineup. You just don't know with him.
Yeah, the early lineup announcement from Rusty normally a sign of confidence in the selections, but we will move on to the bench, where I feel like there does need to be a certain aspect of confidence coming from Rusty, because last week we saw a bit of a hybrid bench, something that we hadn't really seen before. For the French, they are more than likely going to select that 6-2 split. That is something that they have used quite a bit throughout the last couple of years. So for yourself in the front row replacements, who have you gone with in this department?
I got Thomas de Toy, Johan Grobler, Juan Venter.
So you're going with Thomas de Toy as your tight head prop?
Yeah.
And no Zachary Porthen?
No, I don't. I think Rusty always puts the young guys in, gives them the opportunity, and then he gives them a little bit of a break, that it goes to their head too early. I don't think we'll see him in this game. I think we might see him against Italy again, but I don't think we'll see him in this game against the French.
Okay, so for myself, I've got a little bit of a similarity here. I've got Johan Grobler as my number 16. Now, number 17, if Gerhard Stennekamp is starting in this game, I would have Boan Venter off of the bench. And then I also do have Thomas de Toy as that number 18 here. I do feel like no matter who they go with, they've got some great options to make their way off of the bench in this contest. Maybe there's even a chance, and I know that this is a bit of a curveball, but someone who throws a few would be Rassi, is going with Johan Grobler, Stennekamp, and Wilco Low off the bench, and going with all 3 guys from the Bulls, perhaps, there's a little bit of cohesion there. But I think you want Wilco in the starting lineup up against the French. So then you'd have to sacrifice Marks to have him coming off the bench, and that seems like a bit of a risk.
No, I don't. No. No.
You don't like that?
I don't. Malcolm Marks has to start, but like we always say, you never know. But I actually need 9 people off the bench today. I've got a little bit of issues there, but I'd have those 3 in there on those 3 positions.
But the rest of the 4-pack for myself, I have got 3 more forwards, seeing as I have gone with the 6-2 split. I've got Arge Snyman as my number 19, Andre Esterhuizen as the number 20. He did play there for the last match up against Japan, so I've decided to stick him there. Now, theoretically, he can be a forward or a back in this matchup, so, he could be 23 for this contest rather than the 20, but I do feel like with his versatility, you've got to have him somewhere off of the bench. The fact that he offers you a position in the 4-pack and the back line makes him the perfect player to have off of the reserves. And then number 21, this man's also perfect for the bench. In fact, I would almost say he is completely designed for it, and that is, was that you showing the wonky nose, Quagga Smith?
There you go, Mr. Skew Nose. the skewest nose in world rugby.
It's certainly taken a beating, hasn't it, Quagga Smith's nose? But he certainly will give out a beating as well out there on the field, getting in the breakdowns, putting in the big hits, and Quagga is Mr. Impact for the Springboks bench.
I've gone with our, what I call our 2 best bench players. I've gone with Arge Snyman and with Quagga. I've gone with those 2.
So 5-3 split for yourself? or have you got an Esterhuizen hiding?
I still got an Esterhuizen.
Okay, yeah, that's all right.
So I got a 5-3-6-2 split. It could be, anyway.
Alrighty, so back replacements alongside Esterhuizen. Who else have you got?
See, this is where it becomes so difficult because I kind of feel I got to have Pollard in there as well. I'm going Pollard, Williams, Esterhuizen. That's it. Pollard, Williams, Esterhuizen. That's my back three.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Well, that's exactly what I've got, other than the fact that I've got Esterhuizen as a forward. I've got Grant Williams, number 22, and Handré Pollard, number 23. I'll be honest, and this is a very bold statement that's probably going to get me in trouble. I don't think that at this point in time the Springboks necessarily need Handré Pollard for this matchup against France.
No.
I think that Marnie Libok's playing good enough rugby to have him make his way off the bench, and as long as the Springboks do what they are planning to do early on, they shouldn't need those extra 3-pointers in the later stages of the contest. Now, that is, of course, nothing against the French. I just feel like, they've been running rampage. Throughout their last 4 games, they've scored like 200 points, the Springboks.
So you don't have Marnie in the lineup at all.
That's where it gets tricky. I haven't got Marnie. And I feel like I should, but then I also feel like if I didn't select Pollard here, and if Rassi doesn't select Pollard, then there's going to be a lot of angry people. But then I also don't think Rassi cares. He'll go, this is the side that's going to win. And if you don't like it, too bad, because I'm the head coach and I'm making the decisions.
I mean, look, that's why I'm trying to please the people. Yeah, I'm a man of the people. That's why I've gone Pollard, Marnie, and Sasha in my team. And no place for JC Creel. But look, that's why I say I actually need 9 reserve players, because I would have liked to add JC Creel into my lineup as well. But yeah, that's tough when you've got so many. Yeah, you've spoiled for choices. But I would also go Grant Williams and Pollard are definitely in there, and I have Esterhuizen at the 23, which makes I got that flexibility now, because Grant Williams can also still play out on the wing as he did against Japan. So I've got that wing option there as well on the bench. Esterhuizen can play 11, 12, 13, 14, no problem. So there's a lot of, Kwaka Smith's name on. There's a lot of interchangeable things there. Yeah.
Do you think it's getting harder for the Springboks with this versatility that they're creating to select a specialist 10 off the bench?
Yeah, because the question is, do you need? I mean, Sasha's kicking has improved. Marnie's kicking has improved. I always felt that if Sasha and Marnie could start getting their kicking at the not the same level as Handré Pollard, but close to Handré Pollard, then I always thought Pollard's position in the team is in danger, because he doesn't give the team that speed and that agility that the other two do. His crossfield kicking is just as good. Of course, everything that goes towards the poles is fantastic, but I think he's a little bit better on the defensive end of the game than the other two. But at the moment, it looks like Rusty's going very much all-out attack at the moment, and I think those two just give us that at the moment. And if they're kicking well, and if anything happens, it's not like, oh wow, now we've got to bring Pollard from the bench. We're in trouble. No, it's not like that. I mean, a year ago, I would have said the Springboks, maybe our weakest position a year ago. We only had Pollard. Didn't see Mongazulu quite there yet. But now I think it's our fly-off position is very solid at the moment.
Yeah, it's a bit similar to the locking duo, isn't it? How you've actually got a huge amount of depth developing. And the good news is you only need one player in that 10 jersey rather than the 2 locks like you would see. But in the comparison, it's actually they've got 1 and 3 in terms of the options. They've got 3 for that 4, 3 for the 5, and 3 for the 10 as well.
That's why I'm still envious of the New Zealanders, because when it comes to the 9 position, to the scrum half position, I think you have what we have on the lock position, you have on your 9 position with Roy God, Ratima, Christie. And I did like that young kid that played Dylan Pledger.
Dylan Pledger, yep.
He impressed me. I like him. But it's going to be hard for him to get into the squad,
Yeah, with those guys who are about that mid-level in terms of Christie, in terms of whether or not they consider him as the World Cup material, because that's the thing, it's getting closer. It's less than 2 years away. We've got that Rugby World Cup draw taking place in actually about a month from today. So it's getting pretty close in terms of who those sides are going up against. But overall, I think we're going to have to say it each and every week. And people will get sick of hearing us say it, but the Springboks just have incredible depth. At the moment, Rassi has done a brilliant job in creating a squad of about 50, if not, you could almost say more than 50 players at the moment who, if they are needed to be called upon, they can slot into the jerseys. They work well with the other members of the team as well, and it's going to be a very difficult decision for Rassi actually heading into that World Cup in terms of who to actually go with when you've got so many great players.
I'm telling you, about 3 months before the World Cup, the newspaper in South Africa, that's the only thing they're going to be talking about. It's going to be like every day they're going to have a different lineup. You should be picking this one. You should be picking this one. I mean, he's created his own issues by having such a big squad where you think, if you look at, let's take your New Zealanders for a thing. I think Razor, I think you've also got depth, but I think he kind of knows more in his mind. These are our 30, 35 players that I'm going to take. With Rassi, let's say everybody's healthy. It becomes difficult. It becomes difficult because I feel you're going to be leaving out some good veterans that maybe deserve that third crack at a World Cup, and I think they're not going to make it, And then you're going to see in South Africa, look, if he wins the World Cup, no, everybody's going to be like, he got everything right. And if he loses the World Cup, it's going to be he got everything wrong. It doesn't matter how he does it, you can only win by winning. I can't remember who it was. I think it was a New Zealand pundit that was talking about the other day and saying, look, he's one of the few coaches in world rugby, and I don't know if that's because of South African Rugby Federation. He's not as under pressure as other coaches. The South African Federation, if he loses a game, it's not, the world doesn't go under because they kind of bought into his long-term plans. Where you see other coaches are basically always trying to play the best players because, if I lose 2 games, I might not be here in the third game, Where he kind of has that luxury at the moment where he can basically tell everybody to go stuff it. And because he knows, look, I've got this plan and I've told you people I told you 8 years ago when I came, this is my plan. And it's worked out well. And I mean, and he can make so many changes because he does have that depth.
Well, you're also in that scenario how it's very hard to argue with a man who can point to the side and show you the trophy cabinet full of trophies. You've got the Rugby Championship, you've got the Rugby World Cup in there back-to-back in there as well. So, he's obviously doing something right because not many coaches can do that point over the side. In fact, none can. But, yeah, I'm intrigued to see what kind of massive changes we see here up against France because I feel whatever they do here up against the French, we're probably going to see up against the Irish roughly as well.
Yes.
But that Italian game, that's going to be once again a lottery in terms of who to pick.
Oh, I think we'll have about 15 changes for the Italian game. But look, a lot of people in the media talking about the pressure. Of course, you want to have that world ranking #1 going into the tournament stuff. I don't think it's that important. I honestly don't. I don't think if you're 1 or 6, it makes a big difference. The top 2 teams of every pool come through, and 4 third-place teams also come through.
Yeah.
So, I mean, does it really matter where you in the rugby rankings? As long as you top your pool, you're going to be all right.
I think it all comes down to the seeding in terms of those playoff games because you could find yourself, let's just say, for instance, New Zealand, South Africa could find themselves playing in a semi-final rather than a final like they had in 2023. So that one will be the one that perhaps in the long term we'll look back at those world rankings and go, okay, this side dropped into 3rd and that meant that they didn't quite get the draw that they were after. But other than that, like, you're still going to go far in the tournament if you're in that top 6. And even if you're not in the top 6, as long as you're a decent side, you'll make your way through.
Actually, top 4 is important because I kind of feel that if you take the world rankings right now, you've got South Africa, New Zealand, Ireland, France. You're going to have to, if everything goes well, you're going to have to play South Africa's going to play one of those 3 teams in the semi-final.
Yeah.
And the other 2 in the final if they get to the final. So if you 1 in the rankings or if you're 4, it doesn't matter. You're going to play either France, Ireland, or New Zealand. 2 of those teams you're going to meet in the tournament. Unless you get very lucky and you don't have to play so many good teams. But I mean, look, last World Cup, New Zealand in the final. What do we have? French in the semi-final. And there was England in the quarterfinal, something like that.
France quarter, and then England semi. Yep.
And New Zealand in the final. So, I mean, look, okay, we won everything by 1 point. But at the end of the day, you had to play 3 of the best teams in the world to get to win the tournament. I think that you're going to have to do that this time as well. And I think And I think it's got a lot closer as well. The Rugby World Cup has got a lot closer. I'm banking 100% on Australia making it in the semi-finals.
You had some bold predictions today. You've had the three fly halves in the lineup, and
I've been dissing the Australians now for about a few years now. I'm scared actually to go to Australia. I think there's going to have a poster of me at the airport, not wanted, because I've always been on their case. But no, I think they've got a good young team, and give them another 2 years. I think they're going to be there, And you can never count out the English. They're annoying. They'll be there. So, and Argentina, don't forget them. So I think this could be one of the closest World Cups that we've seen for a long time.
Yeah. And the best thing is, that's exactly what people said about 2023's Rugby World Cup as well. So the fact that we're building upon what was already a close tournament and now creating another close one straight after is exactly what people want.
It's good for rugby, man. It's good for rugby.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't the Springboks going for the three-peat, I'd say somebody else needs to win it. It's good when it gets, but I can't say that. But it's. I'd like to. I think the French do deserve to get a World Cup once. They've been so close so many times. And can the Irish get over the hump of quarterfinals? Can they make it to a semi-final? I think, I'll still go with the Southern Hemisphere team winning the tournament, definitely. I can't see a Northern Hemisphere team winning the tournament.
Yeah, a lot of history could be created in Australia. I can't believe that we're already closer to the next World Cup than we are from the previous. But nonetheless, one day we will get Rassi's prediction right. I don't think it's going to be this week. I'm just saying it right now, but we'll keep on trying. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, do let us know who you think Rassi will be selecting in his Springboks lineup. If you did enjoy, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe and check out Vic and Vern's channel. They have got some great stuff over there, all different sports, all around the world. And yeah, it's always thoroughly entertaining. The two of them sometimes look very stressed when the Springboks are playing, and I feel like this game's going to be one of them.
Look, I'm going to have to, what do you call those things when you can shock somebody?
Defibrillator, is it?
Defibrillator. I got to organize one of that this week for Vern, because Vern's heart, when it comes to the Springboks, either he's going to be very loud and shouting for joy, or he just sits in the chair and he's like slumped and he's very quiet. And when he's quiet, it's normally because we're not doing that well. But what's the other weekend now?
We'll wait and see. But nonetheless, thank you all very much for watching, and we will see you all for the next one.